Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be reviewing and talking about the new expansion to Onitama, Way of the Wind. Now, this is the second expansion to Onitama. We had bought the first expansion, the Sensei's Path, but I don't think we ever did a review video on it. The first expansion, though, Sensei's Path, was just a bunch of more movement cards for Onitama. Now, we did do a review on Onitama back in the day, and this is a game that we both quite liked, and this is a game that still hits the table for us sometimes. It's kind of an abstract strategy game where you have a handful of cards out to be your possible moves, but every time you play a card to make a move, you're giving it to your opponent, so they're going to get to make that move in the future. Now, this is a really cool game, and Sensei's Path, I think, was really good because it just gave you more of what you wanted. But they said they were coming out with another expansion, and if they had just done Sensei's Path again, I think we would have been disappointed where if they just did more move cards. Because on any given game, you only get to use 5 of the movement cards. So they said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do something totally different. And now while that can be good, that they're going to come up with a whole new mechanic for the game, and it's not just going to be more of the same, it's also contingent on whether or not the mechanic is good. So now we're going to open this up, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to find out, is this a good mechanic? Does this improve Onitama? Does it add to the variety of Onitama? Right? All right. So Way of the Wind adds in, here's what you get in the box. You open it up. Now it adds in you've got a little rule book for the new rules, which are mainly focused around a new deck of cards, a new type of cards, as well as the Wind Elemental. Now this is the Wind Elemental. The Wind Elemental starts in the center of the board. In addition, in the box, you have 2 kinds of cards. You have just two, the sheep and the goat, standard Onitama movement cards. You just shuffle these into the deck. There's nothing extra you got to do with these. And then you have a new deck of cards, which these are double movement cards, because what each one of these does is they allow you to first move one of your pieces per the movement on the top, and then move the Wind Spirit per the movement on the bottom. So playing one of these means you get to move 2 pieces. Now, the way the Wind Spirit works is he starts in the center of the table, and neither player is allowed to move one of their pieces onto the space that the Wind Spirit is currently on. But when you move the Wind Spirit, either by playing one of these double movement cards, or by playing a regular movement card and choosing to move the Wind Spirit instead of your own piece, if it lands on a piece, that piece is then teleported to the space the Wind Spirit started in for that turn. So they basically swap places. So the Wind Spirit doesn't capture anything. You're not allowed to go in its space, and all it really does is allow you to mess with the positioning of other pieces.
Or block movement.
That is true. Now, first thing I want to talk about. So this comes with 2 new cards, and I have an issue. I already have an issue. We're not even got into the main game. So it comes with 2 new cards, and I'm going to see if I can show this on the camera. I'm going to have to get a little glare to possibly show it. I'm not sure if this is going to show up, but let me see if I can show you as close as possible by maybe getting the glare going on the cards. The cards have a different texture. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's hard to show on the camera, but they're noticeable.
Can I see?
You can see the difference in the texture between.
Yeah, you can feel them too.
So here's the thing. There are these 2 cards, the goat and the sheep, and if you try to shuffle them in with the cards that came in the base set as well as the cards that came in the first expansion, they are blatantly noticeable. You have to try not to notice, and that right there sticks in my craw. Now that doesn't have an issue with the dual movement cards because they are shuffled up into a separate deck, and then when figuring out which movement cards you get, you take 3 regular movement cards and 2 of the new dual movement cards and give them 2 cards to each player, 1 card in the middle. So since they come from a separate deck, it's not a problem for them. But for these 2 cards, for the goat and the sheep, you can totally tell if you're about to give someone the goat or the sheep after you shuffled up. There's no way not to. So they feel different, they look different, they have a different shine to them. And this bothers me. To no end, this bothers me. So there's that. Now, perhaps we should talk about how much it does or doesn't add to the game of Onitama having the wind spirit in the center of the table. What's your thought on that?
I think it's an unnecessary expansion. The wind spirit didn't really. We never used it to swap places because every time, it would have been like worse for the person moving it.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, we could have played where we were trying to get the wind spirit to swap with someone else, but I don't know. It just never worked out that way.
It usually seems like it's going to when you have that option to swap spots. The only thing I ever did with it was block movement.
Yeah.
And in that regard, it was just annoying. It was like, oh man, it's in the way again. So overall, after playing with it a little bit, I agree with you. This does not feel like a needed expansion.
No, it doesn't really add anything to the game. It just makes it a little more annoying.
It's okay. It's like I want to give them an A for effort. They came up with a new mechanic, turning Onitama trying to turn it into a little bit of a different game. But while their heart was in the right place in regard to that it was a good idea, this was not the expansion they should have released. When they played it and realized exactly how it worked, they should have either scrapped it or come up with a different idea to make Onitama into a new game, because the game that Onitama becomes with the wind spirit on the table, unfortunately for me, is not as good as Onitama by itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think I gave Onitama 7 stars and you gave it 8 stars back when we reviewed it, if I'm not mistaken. So now I feel like Onitama hasn't slipped for me at all. I still think it's a 7-star game. However, with this in it, I think Onitama at least drops to a 6. Like, it's just not as good as regular Onitama. I mean, what do you think? Does it pull the score down significantly for you?
Yeah. If this was how it came and we were reviewing the game like with the wind spirit as part of it, I would probably give it a 5.
Wow, that's a huge drop.
Yeah.
Where are you at with Onitama by itself at this point right now?
Well, just the regular base
Just
game.
the base game.
I still think it's an 8. It's a great game.
Yeah, you love Onitama. So, okay. So
It's just it sits on a spot, taking up a space, and is just generally annoying.
yeah. So now we bought it. I don't think we're going to hold on to this expansion. The other expansion I liked, the Sensei's Path. You want to get an expansion on Onitama, get Sensei's Path. It's just lots of more cards, which gives you lots more variety, which is fun. More variety was good. This expansion is a pass for me. I wouldn't really recommend it. I'm going to give... You know what? I like the look of the Wind Spirit. I like the idea of trying to come up with something new. But the actual execution is not very good. I don't hate it, but I'm going to give the expansion itself 5 stars. I feel like that feels right to me because I feel like the expansion drags the game down to 6 stars, whereas the game was 7 stars. So being that it drags it down that much, the expansion itself is about 5 stars. In addition to that, I am really bothered by the fact that these cards stand out in texture and sheen from the cards in the base set, so that these cannot really even be mixed in a way that you wouldn't notice them. Mm-hmm. So where are you at? How many stars are you going to give to Way of the Wind?
I would give it 5.
5, same as me. So there you have it. 5 is not. It's not terrible. It's a mediocre score. If you want to give this a try, I mean, go right ahead. I recommend seeing if you can try it before buying it, though, because I kind of feel like it makes Onitama a less interesting game. And that's never what you want from your expansion. You don't want the expansion to make a game you already liked a less interesting game. But this is definitely one I would recommend that you pass on. You can feel free to try it and tell me you disagree with me. But both Lynn and I are in agreement on this. We think this is just decidedly mediocre. So 5 stars from me, 5 stars from Lynn. I am very sad that I cannot recommend Way of the Wind because I'm a big fan of Onitama. And I still recommend Onitama. And you still would recommend Onitama. So there you have it. But there you have it. What are your thoughts? Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns on Way of the Wind? Feel free to put them in the comments down below. If you thoroughly disagree with us, let us know. And let us know why you think the Way of the Wind makes Onitama better if you disagree with us. If you enjoyed this video, though, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube, and hit that little bell icon on my channel so you get updates every time I upload a new video. And until next time, game on.